Hello, pre-algebra students. Mr. Lawrence here, and we are going to do some story problems. And I know some kids have trouble with story problems, but the trick is just figuring out. A story problem is just an addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division problem. And maybe a couple of other operations, but what we're going to be doing with just those four basic operations. But it's in words, and all you have to do is figure out what the key words are, and then you can know if it's a subtraction problem or a division problem or etc. So let's take a look at some examples here. Let's say we know that Staples, the store Staples, the paper company, made a profit of 9.81 times 7 times 10 to the 7th power dollars. And Dunder Mifflin, obviously the fictional company, made a profit of 6.45 times 10 to the 6th power dollars. Which company made more money? Well, hopefully right now you can see it's just a simple comparison. We have to ask ourselves which number is larger. And hopefully you can tell right now that by this exponent here, multiplying something by 10 to the 7 is like multiplying it by a 1 followed by 7 zeros. See, there's 5, 6, 7, put my commas in. So it's 10 million. We're going to multiply this 9.81 by 10 million. But the other one has an exponent of 6. So it's like multiplying something by something with 6 zeros, which is only going to be 1 million. Well, it should be obvious that this one is larger. But if it's not obvious, let's go ahead and convert them into standard notation. And so we'll take we're going to take this 9.81 number, and we have to multiply it by 10 million, which is going to move this decimal point 7 places right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And look, there's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. So the Staples number comes out to 981, and there's 5 zeros. And I'll put my commas in. And it looks like we have $98,100,000. Now, the Dunder Mifflin Company, we're going to take the 6.45, and we're going to multiply it by a million, which is going to move the decimal point 6 places to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which results in 4 zeros. So the number becomes 645, and then 4 zeros after that, and put a comma there and a comma there. Now, anybody can tell that this number is 98 million, and this number is only 6 million. The green one is way bigger. So obviously the correct answer for this is that Staples made more money. Staples made more money. There we go. Okay, it should be obvious for you. How much more money did that company make? How much more? Look at that. How much more? What kind of problem is how much more? Mr. Lawrence is, hold on, how much more? Let me highlight that. So, Mr. Lawrence is 42 years old. Most of his students are 13 or 14 years old. How much older is Mr. Lawrence? That is, you guessed it, a subtraction problem, right? You see how much more? It's subtraction. Now, I could do this the old-fashioned way, but I knew that if it was 43 minus 13, my answer would be 20. So therefore 42 would be one less. My answer is 19. But I did it by simple subtraction. This is a simple subtraction problem. But I am told to give my answer in both scientific notation and standard notation. Well, one really good way to do this would take, since we already took the time to put these in standard notation, you could take the 98,100,000 and subtract the 6,450,000 from it. That would be one very good way to do it. So I'll just do some old-fashioned subtraction here. And it'll be easy enough. I'll get 0, and I'll get 0, and I'll get 0, and then I'll get 0. Now, I can't take 5 away from 10, so I'm going to borrow. Turn that into a 0, make that a 10. 10 minus 5 is 50. I can't take 4 away from 0, so I'll borrow. Turning that into a 7, making that a 10. And 10 minus 4 is 6. And then this will be 1, and that should be correct. I believe that's right. So look, Staples made $91,650,000 more than Dunder Mifflin. More than, and I'm just going to put Dunder Mifflin DM. Okay, now it says to give my answer in both scientific and standard notation. So from this point, I'm just going to convert this answer right here into scientific notation. Well, I've got a decimal point right here, and I know I want it to end up here. So I know my decimal is going to look like 9.165. And all I got to figure out is what do I have to divide this black number by? And that will tell me what my exponent is. Well, divide, let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. One with 7 zeros would be $10 million, or in other words, 10 to the 7th. And there we go. So Staples made $91,650,000 more than Dunder Mifflin, or I could say Staples made 9.165 times 10 to the 7th power dollars more than Dunder Mifflin. Pretty easy stuff when you know it's a subtraction problem. All right. How many times greater was their profit? Well, how many times greater? Some of you are going to think to multiply, but since we want to know how many times greater, it's actually a division problem. Yeah, this is a division problem. I'm going to take the profit that Staples made, and I'm going to do it in scientific notation, which is up here at 9.81 times 10 to the 7th. So we got 9.81 times 10 to the 7th. And I'm going to divide it by, what was Dunder Mifflin's profit? 6.45 times 10 to the 6. 6.45 times 10 to the 6th power. And I'm actually going to do this on a calculator because I'm not going to do long division of this sort. Hold on one second. And so I typed it in on a graphing calculator. I actually used Google, and I typed it in just like this that you see right here. Okay, and it did it for me. And look, I came up with an answer of about 15.2 times larger. And so my answer would be Staples' profit was 15 times about profit was about 15.2 times larger. Of course, in scientific notation, that would be 1.52 times 10 to the 1st. I divide this by 10 to get the decimal point to move, and then I have to multiply by 10 to the 1st. And there you go. All right, I'm going to put up one more set of problems for you, and you see what you can do with this one. Here, let me move this out of the way. It says an iPod 4S is approximately 7.10227 times 10 to the negative 5th miles long. The circumference of the Earth is approximately 24,859 and 82 hundredths miles long. How many iPod 4s would it take to wrap around the circumference of the Earth? See if you can answer that question on your own. Okay, if you're having a little trouble with it, you're probably not recognizing what kind of problem it is. It's just a basic division problem. If I say, how many iPod 4s would it take to wrap around the Earth? I'm asking, how many of these lined up would fit all the way around the Earth? If that was the Earth, how many iPods would it take, laid end to end, could fit completely around the circumference of the Earth? So I take this number here and I divide it by the length of the iPod. All right, and as you can imagine, it's going to be a quite large number. Now, the beautiful thing in your calculators that most of you have, or the calculators I have in my room, you can just do the problem just like this. You don't even have to convert it both to the same number of units. You can do this problem here on your calculator. Oops, that's supposed to be a decimal point. And that would tell you the number. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and bring up Google and type in that number. And when I type it in and hit enter, you see I get this extremely large number here. And it doesn't come out division quite equally, but 0.01 is such a tiny amount of a mile. It's not even a tenth of a mile. It's a hundredth of a mile, which I guess is a little bit more, but you could always up this by 1. But anyway, if I put my commas in here, it looks like there's going to be a comma there and a comma there. It looks like there's going to be 350,026,400 iPod 4S's to wrap all the way around the Earth. Okay, what is the difference in their lengths? Well, difference should be a key word for you. And that's a subtraction problem. Now, to do the subtraction problem, I'm going to want to be in the same units. So I'm going to go ahead and convert. Having some trouble here. Are we working? There we go. Convert. If you heard some music there, that was just my telephone ringing. Anyway, so I'm going to convert the distance of the Earth circumference into scientific notation. So I have something very strange going on here. I'm going to take this distance here and convert it to scientific notation. I need the decimal point to be here. So I'm going to divide by 10, 100, 10,000, 100,000. So I'm going to get 2.485,982 times 10, and that was 1, 2, 3, 4 to the 4th power. And then I'm going to divide it by 7.10227 times 10. Oh, I'm not going to divide it. Excuse me. I'm going to subtract here, right? Sorry about that. And I'm going to subtract by 10 to the negative 5th. I'm going to go ahead and use a calculator on this because this is going to get really ugly if I don't. So my answer will appear in just a moment. And there it is. I get 24,859.81993. And you notice this number is almost the same as this number right here. Oh, I'm sorry, this black number right here, 0.82.81993. And that should make sense because the iPod 4S isn't very long. And so this black number here, or the original number, and this blue number I get from subtracting are very, very close. In fact, they're within 0.0001 of each other, which makes perfect sense. All right, this video is getting a touch too long. Let's end it for tonight. Good night, everybody.